Hi, I'm Manda McKay. I'm a professional artist and I'm making these videos with creativity tips to help people become more creative versions of themselves, and these tips are useful regardless of your level of expertise. So one thing that stands in the way often for people with whether it's coming up with ideas, creative ideas, or working on their actual creative projects or hobbies, unfinished tasks or unfinished business is something that can be hindering you more than you realize. And it's something that I want you to ask yourself if you think that this is possibly affecting you. And these unfinished tasks could be other artistic projects, or it could be something completely unrelated to art. So especially I think if you were raised in a rather strict household or a strict family, you may feel like you can't work on your project, something fun, unless you've gotten all your chores finished. And this is something, if this applies to you, it is very possible that this is happening on a subconscious level and you don't even realize it. So if you find that you're just dragging your feet for no particular reason about getting started on whatever project it is that you're excited to work on, I want you to ask yourself if this is possibly what's happening and you feel like, okay, deep down, maybe you don't deserve to work on something fun until you've done all of your chores. If this does seem like it applies to you, and you're like anybody else in the world, you probably have like a to-do list that would stretch from here to hell. And no way you can possibly get all the things on your to-do list done. So in that, if you waited till everything was done, you would never be able to work on your creative practice. So if you think that this applies to you, maybe come up with like just one small nagging task that will take less than 10 minutes. And tell yourself when you finish that, then you'll be able to work on your creative practice. I wasn't raised in a very strict household, but I do often find myself falling into this mindset. And I just pick one nagging thing that's been on my list for a while, and for some reason, even though it takes 5 minutes, I haven't gotten around to it in 2 months. But checking that thing off my list almost always puts me into the correct mindset that I'm looking for. Now, it could also have to do with that you feel like you have to complete one project, one artistic project, before you move on to the next one. And I think that this especially applies to people who tend to be more neurodivergent. So this can be a little bit more tricky because what sort of project are we talking about? Are we talking about that you have to write an entire novel before you can start on your next short story? Are you having to record an entire album or shoot an entire film before you can move on to something different? So this is a lot trickier if you find that it's something of this sort, something massive. Because if you really are waiting until you finish an entire novel before you can even think about starting on something else, then you may never get to start on the new thing. So what I would suggest in that case, if you really feel like you have to write an entire novel before you can start on this new thing or even think about this new thing, I would say just give yourself a set amount of time to work on the new thing. And just say, okay, I'm giving myself 2 hours and that's it. And I'm just going to explore whatever this new thing is, and then I will get back to the project that's hanging over my head. And if you really are struggling with this, I think that's probably the best that you can do. Unless the other project is something that would be very, very quick, maybe just take 1 or 2 days and then you can be free of that. But again, if it's something that is possibly going to take you months or a lot of money or resources that you don't currently have, well then just tell yourself, okay, I'm setting aside X amount of time to work on this different thing, and it's okay, and I'm going to get back to the first project as soon as I can, but just 2 hours is all I'm going to devote to this new project. And for the people I've known who've been in this kind of a situation, that seems to be the thing that works the best for them. So, but either way, just having these unfinished tasks can really stop you from being able to focus on something new. And if you are the type of person who wants to complete one thing before you move on to the next thing, practicing with this will make you a little bit more flexible mentally to be able to kind of jump around. For me, I always like to finish one painting before starting on another painting, but that was really slowing me down as I had to wait for paint to dry, so I just had to buy some extra easels and just have two things in progress. And it was weird at first, but then it wasn't that difficult at all once I got started on actually trying this. So just ask yourself, is there something that's standing in your way, and how can you address that before you can actually relax and work on whatever it is that you're inspired to work on right now? So let me know in the comments if this was helpful or if you've experienced something like this before. And again, my name is Manda McKay, and thank you so much for watching.